also streaming live on Facebook at 3FM 927. Also on YouTube at 3FM 927 this evening. I am Alfred. Ocansey. Legal battle over suspension of the Chief Justice escalates as Justice Gertrude Torkonoo sues Ghana at the Ecowas court alleging human rights abuses. Stay with us. We've got details for you. Also, the NPP rejects Ablekuma North election rerun, insisting its candidate Nana Akua Afriyie won the disputed parliamentary elections. They have thus withdrawn from the rerun of the elections in the 19 polling stations on Friday.
Court never said go and do a rerun. The court said go, collect and declare. So for us in the New Patriotic Party, we are resorted to go back to the court. Because what the Electoral Commission is doing is contempt of court. It's illegal. It's unacceptable. Because a simple instruction has been given to you. Go, collect and declare, not go and rerun.
We've got details for you here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Also, government to institute a whistleblower reward scheme as part of a broader crackdown on illegal mining. Stay with us here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. I'll tell you as tributes continue to point the death of N.S. Yakomi, the Equatorial Member of Parliament. We're also learning today that $1.2 billion worth of gold smuggled during the economic crisis, according to Finance Minister Dr. Kasiela Tuforsi. All these and more. Stay with us here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Let's settle for a summary of the news now.
Thank you very much, Alfred. And in our summaries tonight, the suspended Chief Justice Gertrude Torkonoo has taken her case to the ECOWAS Court of Justice in Abuja. She's challenging her suspension by President Mahama, claiming it violates her human rights and amounts to removal from office without due process. The Deputy Attorney General, Justice Ramsai, confirmed the move, noting that the suit was filed on July 4. Justice Torkonoo had earlier lost related cases in Ghana Supreme and High Courts. The Supreme Court has also adjourned a case filed by embattled Men's Gold CEO Nana Akua Mensah, also known as NAM1. He's asking the Apex Court to halt his criminal trial at the High Court, which his appeal is heard. His earlier request was dismissed by the Court of Appeal. The matter has now been pushed to July 29. Finance Minister Dr. Kasiel Atuforsin has pledged full support for the Ghana Gold Board's fight against illegal gold smuggling. Speaking at the launch of a new anti-smuggling task force, Dr. Forsin praised the board's early success and said curbing gold smuggling is vital for Ghana's economic recovery. Lastly, government will begin paying 4 billion Ghana cedis to road contractors from this month. That's according to Roads and Highways Minister Kwame Adboja, who says the figure is part of 21 billion Ghana cedi debt inherited by the Mahama administration. The move follows the completion of an audit into the projects, many of which has stalled due to non-payment. And you can access all of these stories on 3news.com for more details. Over to you, Alfred.
And thank you very much, Christabel. It's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Hot Edition. We're live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. We're learning of some news coming through right now. We'll reach the Energy Ministry shortly, but the Minister for Energy and Green Transition, John Abdullahi Jinapo, has announced temporary disruption of power supply across the country on Sunday, July 13, as gas suppliers ENI turn off their valves for rehabilitation. It is part of the company's measures to increase gas production to 270 millimeter scarf. According to the minister, the increase in gas production is of gain to the energy sector despite the temporary inconvenience. So stay with us. We've got details for you on this matter shortly here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. We'll touch base with the Energy Ministry shortly. Let's go to some more stories now as the suspended Chief Justice of Ghana, Gertrude Torkonoo, has escalated her legal challenge by filing an application at the ECOWAS Community Court of Justice in Abuja, Nigeria. Now, this move comes amid ongoing domestic proceedings related to her suspension and potential removal from office. Deputy Attorney General Justice Shamsai, who disclosed the Chief Justice's latest action, said the suit was filed on July 4, 2025, invoking claims of human rights violations arising from her suspicion that there has not been any fair application of the law. Now, Justice Torkonoo argues that her suspension essentially by President John Dramani Mahama under Article 146 of Ghana's 1992 Constitution amounts to a de facto removal without a final determination of the 3 petitions against her. She claims human rights violations, stating the suspension impairs her constitutional right to serve as Chief Justice. Prior to the ECOWAS filing, she had challenged her suspension in Ghana's Supreme Court and High Court, but her applications were dismissed. On July 1, 2025, the Attorney General filed a motion to strike out her judicial review application, calling it legally defective due to a grave misstatement of capacity and missing essential parties. Justice Torkonoo has denied accusations contained in the 3 petitions which allege, among other things, misconduct and misuse of public funds. Let's engage a private legal practitioner, Kweku Ansari, who is a former director of the Ghana School of Law. And Ansari, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Good evening, and thank you for having me on.
I want to first of all find out from you how this strikes you, the latest move by the suspended Chief Justice to, as it were, defend what she describes as her rights, and then also put some spotlight on the violation of her human rights as has been captured in this suit before the ECOWAS Court of Human Rights.
Thank you. I think that the Chief Justice is now holding on to just anything, that will come their way. The ECOWAS Community Court indeed has jurisdiction to hear cases bordering on violations of individual human rights. But the point is that the ECOWAS Community Court is a creature of the ECOWAS community, pursuant to their own protocols and treaties. And the first thing, presumptively, is that the ECOWAS Community Court will respect the laws of member states. And one of the laws, the member states, is respect for each other's sovereignty. Indeed, the lady Chief Justice, may take cases, to any court, even, go to the World Court, the Hague, anywhere. But the primary question is, has she exhausted, all the internal mechanisms here in Ghana? This is, something that I find very difficult to understand. She's a Chief Justice. She has to respect the Article 146 CJ removal process. If she herself is disrespecting, the Article 146 CJ removal process, how does she expect the ECOWAS Community Court to intervene? Because first of all, they may, like to find out whether, there are any internal mechanisms in Ghana available. Are there remedies? Are there justiciable remedies? Now, this is a process that has been triggered under a constitution promulgated by the people, of Ghana for themselves, for the good governance of, the entire nation. She is the Chief Justice. And if she is not, prepared and willing to respect, own constitution, how does she expect ECOWAS, to intervene to protect her? I don't think that, the case is going to succeed. This is again one of the cases with the dimmest prospect of success. It's doomed to failure, because the ECOWAS court indeed, it's a well-respected international adjudicatory body, But if you look at what it has done in the past, it has not simply interfered with the internal processes. It only assumes jurisdiction in clear cases of violation of human rights. Here, I can't find any human rights violation perpetrated against Chief Justice Torkonoo. I think once again, is a very bad approach.
I see, but you indicate that the ECOWAS court would take into consideration whether or not the person who was, as it were, brought the case before them has exhausted all internal avenues of redress.
Remedies, yes.
Now, would you say that the suspended Chief Justice has not exhausted all internal avenues of redress? And if she hasn't, which other avenues hasn't she explored as yet? She's taken her case to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled against her. So really, what other avenues again are we talking about?
Again, you see, the office of Chief Justice is not, an individual's personal property. So this matter is not a personal matter. This is a constitutional process. Article 146 has been triggered by virtue of the submission of petitions to His Excellency, the President of the Republic. In every step taken, the President has respected the Constitution and actually acted in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. There has been no clear case of violation of any human rights of Lady Chief Torkonoo. The President has not breached any rule. If anything at all, the President has observed, the framework, that the framers of the Constitution put in place, that if you receive a petition, these are the constitutional steps you should take. And on each pathway, you have to respect, the will of the people as enshrined in the Constitution. The President has done that. It is the Chief Justice who has created a condition of, rendering the process, impracticable. Today, she does this. Tomorrow, she goes to Abidjan. Another time, she'll go to Togo and this thing. So, if you create conditions, that, render it impossible, to hear the case, the case or the petitions brought before the committee set up by the President in consultation with the Council of State, then it is she who is, rendering, the pathway intractable, not the President, not the people of Ghana. So she must allow, the constitutional process already triggered by the President, pursuant to the submission of the petitions, to, go to completion. Once the processes are determined judicially in accordance, with the framework spelled out clearly in Article 146, then and only then can one determine whether human rights have been violated or not. The ECOWAS Community Court has, on a number of occasions, dismissed suits, filed by aggrieved persons. On, certain occasions, it has, allowed, suits. But in all these things, the question is, have you exhausted the internal remedies provided by your own law? And if you are preventing the internal remedies to be exhausted, how can you go to the ECOWAS Community Court? So there's nothing, very little the ECOWAS Community Court. I would not be surprised if it throws out the suit filed by Lady Chief Torkonoo. And let me again say this, that at the end of what is going on, the Chief Justice cannot, in good conscience, go back, to her office, even if the petitions, the petition fails, even if it is thrown out. she cannot go back, to her job.
We'll see how the coming days will look up, because you've described this application at the ECOWAS court having the dimmest prospect of success. We'll see how things play out. But I thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us as always.
Thank you.
Kweku Ansari is a former director of the Ghana School of Law and also a private legal practitioner, sharing his thoughts with us. If you're just joining us, the suspended Chief Justice Gertrude Torkonoo has escalated her legal challenge by filing an application at the Ecowas Community Court of Justice in Abuja, Nigeria. This move comes amid ongoing domestic proceedings related to her suspension and potential removal from office. The Deputy Attorney General, Justice Shamsai, who disclosed the CJ's latest action, said the suit was filed on July 4, 2025, invoking claims of human rights violations arising from her suspension. If you recall, prior to this moment, the Ghana Bar Association has also taken the position consistently calling for a review of the decision by the Council of State upon advice to the President to suspend the Chief Justice as per the dictates of Article 1466-10. But private legal practitioner Martin Pebo is of the view that the Ghana Bar Association should not be speaking through its president on this matter. Take a listen as to why he takes this position.
Data, like vengeance, etc. in this context is difficult. It's difficult to rationalize, right? These are very serious matters. We should let due process go on. If they had said, the president should lift the petition, the suspension, and then let Chief Justice Torkonoo resign, right? Accept a resignation, notwithstanding the other Supreme Court decisions. That one, yes, I've said it time with that number, that if it's about making sure she gets a dignified exit, resignation, so that she can keep her benefits, that one I'll vote for it any day, okay? Because I think we've dragged this matter enough.
Exactly.
And if we don't stop at a point, you see that the general system will suffer more. You remember even in the Bible, before they got to Pontius Pilate, the high priest said, there is more wisdom in giving up Jesus Christ so that there will be peace in society, right? Because they didn't want any trouble with the Romans. So what I mean is that there's more wisdom now in giving her a dignified exit than to continue to fight this out. Because as we fight out, yes, the press conference Chief Justice Torkonoo gave would help with the future law reforms, etc. But overall, the fight, the high political temperature, etc., I don't think are worth it. Let's give her a dignified exit. Then she goes. Yes.
But does this position that the GBA takes consistently help in itself?
No, the GBA, right now, what the GBA is doing, GBA is losing credibility, fast declining in credibility.
Why do you say
this is a GBA that first issue, their first statement, do you readily have it? We can read from it. The first statement they gave on this matter, they said, yes, it's okay, let due process go on, and they stayed. And that was okay. It's good that they said, yes, let the thing be done under due process, right? Then they shifted, went and they didn't announce the media review conference well, and went and met a few lawyers, less than 60, voted to say the removal process is not good, all the unsavory things they did, that resolution. We came here and condemned it, but it tells you that they haven't learned. It looks like they are digging in their heels. The GBA is digging in their heels. It's not good. As an association, I expected, that's when we showed that Mrs. Ifuagati, you see people even brought pictures of her in NPP attire on an NPP platform with Joe Gatti, her husband. I thought that would have told her that, look, Ghanaians are watching. So even if it were anything, I even think that Mrs. Ifuagati should not be the person to give such a speech, because you see, it's very difficult for citizens to separate her from the NPP. So she should have even known the messenger. She's not the right messenger for this kind of message. Madam Ifuagati, this speech, you shouldn't have read it. Let somebody who is not tied to the NPP openly. Yes, you may be NPP inside, right? So somebody who may be NPP inside, but once there isn't public there are not enough facts to link the person, the message would have sunk in more. But once you are MPP, your husband is MPP, the moment you give such speeches, all people, discerning citizens, see is that they are trying to paint the government black for political ends. Madam Fuagati, let it be clear, I think this is the last time you should give a speech on this matter.
As Martin Pebo is a private legal practitioner, there, let's go into some stories with the NPP, shall we?
Yes, we shall. The New Patriotic Party, NPP, is maintaining its stance that its parliamentary candidate for Ablekuma North, Nana Akua Afriyie, won the December 7, 2024 parliamentary elections by a margin of 414 votes, securing 34,613 votes against the NDC's Irabina Orbin, who had 34,199 votes. The party has vehemently rejected the Electoral Commission's EC decision to conduct a rerun in 19 polling stations on July 11, 2025, calling it unlawful and unnecessary. Addressing a news conference today, NPP General Secretary Justice Gertrude Torkonoo presented copies of pink sheets to buttress his claim that the party's candidate won the Ablekuma North seat. He insisted that the EC directive for a rerun contravenes a High Court order for the Commission to recollate and declare results. Let's take a listen to him.
Our engagement with you this morning is very simple. That we have our evidence, undeniable evidence, overwhelming evidence to clearly show that we won the Ablekuma North parliamentary elections. No change. And yesterday, when National Executive Committee met, we said that under no circumstances will we be intimidated. Yes. Under no circumstances will we be coerced to go for a rerun. We will not go for any rerun. The New Patriotic Party will not go for any rerun. We have won the elections. We have won the elections. What we are asking the Electoral Commission is to follow the court directive, to finish the coalition and declare our candidate Akua Afriyie as the MP that Ablekuma North. Madam Electoral Commission, Madam J. Mensa and the team, please follow the directive of the court, which is complete the coalition and declare the winner for Ablekuma North.
Well, that's Justin Frimpong-Kodia, is the General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party, the opposition NPP. But what's the Electoral Commission really going to face in the coming days?
Well,
Christabel.
There's a legal showdown as the NPP parliamentary candidate for Ablekuma North, Nana Akua Afriyie, challenges its decision to rerun elections in these 19 polling stations. In a suit filed at the High Court, the NPP candidate described the decision to conduct a rerun as arbitrary, capricious, unlawful, and politically motivated. And these are the reliefs that she is seeking. First of all, she's seeking an order of certiorari to nullify the EC's July 1 decision, arguing it violates a prior court ruling. Now, an order of prohibition to stop the July 11 rerun, contending it lacks legal basis under Regulations 42 of CI 127, which allows reruns only for tied votes. And lastly, she's seeking a directive compelling the EC to comply with the January 4, 2025 court order to collate and declare results from all 281 polling stations and not conduct fresh elections. These are the things that she's seeking from the Electoral Commission, Alfred.
Let's stay a bit further on this. And Professor Smart Sapong is a political analyst. He's joining us on the telephone. Prof, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, sir. Good evening, my brother.
Now, so this decision by the NPP to withdraw, in fact, not take part in the Ablekuma elections in the 19 polling stations in that constituency, is it going to help or hurt the party from where you sit?
Right. So, a good evening to our cherished listeners. In my view,
they are defending what they think is the outcome, the genuine outcome of the elections. I think in the press conference, they demonstrated with some polling results to suggest that the election was conducted and properly endorsed by agents as well as the presiding members. And so they may want to battle that one to the logical conclusion, and they have found their way to the court, as we are told. What I think will be the way forward would be for them to urge the court to decide quickly, because the argument is that would the EC alone unilaterally be clouded with what it takes to declare a rerun, and they sort of seek the court's intervention or clarity on that. Once the court declares that the EC may not, then the EC may have to find a way of continuing with the coalition. But if the court says the EC has the authority or should go ahead with the rerun, I am sure as a political party, they may relook at today's decision and then maybe participate, in my view.
And considering the point that this is a constituency they have won since the constituency was created, I mean, and then again, going into this election, they continuously have held the view that they won this election on December 7, 2024. So how is the decision to pull out really going to cement that position as well as also ensure that their hold on that constituency is not diluted?
Well, so they have been winning, and today they say they have won. And I'm sure in court they may demonstrate with evidence from all the 281 pink sheets suggesting that they have won. What is happening right now hasn't got to do with the political parties. I'm not sure it's much of the issue with NDC and NPP as usual. I think currently the problem is with the Electoral Commission, who is unable to independently collate its own elections. I'm sure the pink sheets that political parties do have would have been given to them by the Electoral Commission. So it is a challenge with the Electoral Commission that is leading us into this ongoing chaos. Else, if the Electoral Commission could go ahead, you conducted the elections, you give the political parties the copy pink sheets that they have. So you go ahead, do your collation and declare. But I hear there are some challenges. They say some of their pink sheets cannot be found, it's been torn, it's been this, that. And earlier today I suggested that it's a lesson. They must learn to have a backup plan right there at the polling station before they get to the collation centers. So that is for going forward. But currently, as we speak, if a political party says, yes, you gave me 281 pink sheets and I have them, and the Electoral Commission says, I do not have all, or I cannot verify all, and so let's do rerun in 19, I think we will blame very little on the political parties, but more on the Electoral Commission, who needs to perhaps do a better job next time.
In talking about the Electoral Commission, you recall they gave specific reasons why they got to the point of that decision to conduct this rerun, is it not? Right. I mean, after meetings with both the NPP and the NDC representatives, and then also the consideration of the fact that the returning officers and then the polling station officers could not verify the details of some of the results on the scanned pink sheets provided by the New Patriotic Party. What else could the Electoral Commission have done, really?
Well, the Electoral Commission should have come with its own version of what is the true pink sheet. And that is why I have some little blame for them, because they must find a way of securing their own documents. Elections at Ablekuma North wouldn't be that which could go undercover, because in Ablekuma North, by the credit to your good media house, you gave us full details. And as at close of elections, there was no indication that some polling station in the constituency could not complete, or there was chaos, or there was some level of disruption at any polling station in Ablekuma North. So what it means is that to the polling station or to the election unit where the election took place, what the constituents needed to do was done. The counting was done in a full glare of all people gathered. Witnesses from the NDC and NPP and other political parties were there. And so the problem is with having done the right thing and elections having ended, what else followed up? And I think that is where the EC would have to. Next time, this one is a sports note. Next time, there should be a backup plan such that if political parties are saying we have scanned copies of this, you should also come with your scanned copy, and not to say that I didn't scan. And the original ones I am keeping to, perhaps there was some distraction at the coalition center, and so you can't find them. And it forms basis for a rerun. This time, what has happened, and I know perhaps with the intervention of the courts, you can find clarity to what is going on. But more to the next opportunity, Electoral Commission should also, under circumstances like this, be able to provide its own scanned version of the pink sheets it gave to political parties, so that when the disparity is between pink sheets from the Electoral Commission, scanned or unscanned, and pink sheets from political parties, naturally that of the Electoral Commission would be considered more genuine than that which comes from the political parties.
Professor Sonsapo, appreciate your time on this. Thank you so much for joining us. He's a political analyst, and I also engaged Musa Dankwa as a director of the Global Info Analytics. He had indicated that per his forecast ahead of the 2024 parliamentary elections in the Ablekuma North constituency, although the NPP had won the constituency since it was created, there could have been a flip. This is why he also did that survey.
Owned by NPP since it was created, and it was deemed to be a safe constituency for the NPP until we spotted the danger in the period prior to the last election. Indeed, the last poll that was conducted in Ablekuma North before the elections, around October 15th or so, NDC was leading by a whisker, by just 0.0 something percentage points in the Ablekuma North constituency. So for me, it wasn't surprising that the results of the election was on a knife edge.
I see. But then again, you categorize it in the Dom Kwabenya kind of situation, that there was going to be a possible flip.
Yes, it was supposed to be flipped, even though we knew it was very close. And any race that was very close, NDC won them. So this wouldn't have been different from the rest of the areas we saw, and this was winning.
I see. That's Musa Dankwa, Global Info Analytics, Executive Director there.
In other stories tonight, Minister for Roads and Highways Kwame Adboja-Govins has disclosed government will be paying contractors a total of 4 billion Ghana cedis for projects executed. The amount is part of the 21 billion Ghana cedi debts the Mahama administration inherited. President Mahama yesterday disclosed road contractors, some of whom have abandoned sites, will soon be paid. Addressing the media, Kwame Adboja disclosed the projects audits commissioned by the new administration has been completed, hence the decision to commence payments this month.
On the bigger issue of how do we address the payment to contractors, since we have already admitted, if you listen to His Excellency the President of the Republic yesterday, he indicated that towards the end of this month, the Finance Minister would be taking steps to retire some of the debt owed contractors so that they can go back to site and complete the work. On record, we are intending to pay some 4 billion Ghana cedi towards retiring part of the 21 billion from this month. I have no doubt that will be on record to be one of the biggest payments at a particular time, to make sure that we are serious about clearing the debt, and then also paying for, making provision to start the new works we are talking about. It is not appropriate for us to basically sit unconcerned for this to happen, since we have very scarce resources. So it is very clear that the Finance Minister was doing the right thing by making sure that when we have certificates at Road Fund, those certificates are not repeated in the books of Ghana government at another level, where we'll end up paying twice for the same project. So there's no doubt that government is committed and will continue to prioritize paying for road works done. We fully understand the frustration of the motoring public, transporters, drivers, when they have to endure very challenging roads, especially the ones I've talked about, and elsewhere across the country. Of course, when you live in Accra, you would see Ocansey as the biggest, the situation of Ocansey as the biggest challenge. And I will not fault you because that is what you have seen. But if you have gone around 16 regions as we have done, you will notice that some situations are worse than that. None of it is acceptable. If you were to consume yam today in Accra, that yam probably came from Yendi in part of the northern region. I wish you know how the tracker who brought the yam to Tema managed to bring the yam here, especially if the person used the Eastern Corridor using Passa section in the rainy season. You will weep for that driver. They manage these things. And I'm saying that it is not acceptable in Passa, it's not acceptable at Ocansey. So we need to work as a people to be able to address all these problems.
The minister further disclosed road projects under the Big Push agenda will commence this month. According to the Adaklu MPs, some ongoing projects such as the Ofankor and Sawam Road has been captured under the Big Push agenda. Kwame Abuja consequently charged the contractor Maripoma to ensure the inconvenience to residents and commuters are addressed. He charged the contractors to carry out the needed demolition to pave way for the completion of the project. Project manager for Maripoma, engineer Abdullahi Mahama, assured the minister the challenges will be addressed within 6 weeks.
And we have actually improved the section under question. Yesterday, for instance, we used about 33 minutes to travel that distance as contractors. Mostly we're trying to do our own checks to see the time at which we are traveling that distance. Today was 25. This morning we have to come from Sawam for this meeting. So we can just assure the general public that the contractors are mobilized to the site. We are going to intensify the works without any act of God, which is the rains. We are quite sure that within the next 6 weeks, that whole stretch would have been completed with the blacktop. If the GPRT are aware, from the Sansan towards Accra, the contractor has actually finished with the cement stabilized. Now the reason why we actually blocked that section is that when we introduce the cement stabilized, it has to cure before we can allow load to come on it. So anytime you see that we have blocked a section, it's just because we don't get the time to communicate with the motorists. But once we introduce cement onto the material, it has to go through a process before we can allow the traffic to move on it. So by the next 6 weeks, hopefully, we can finish that stretch. So I'm sure that some of them have used the place yesterday and today. It has been a very great improvement. In fact, my honorable MC told me on Friday that he sent a driver to come to Accra. And when he called the driver, within a matter of some minutes, the driver was already in Accra. It was already actually.
Well, so that's Engineer Abdullahi Mahama there. Let's stay a bit further on this matter. And Emmanuel Cherry is CEO of the Chamber of Construction Industry. Mr. Cherry, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, my good brother. What's the name? Excuse me? Is it Ocansey? Sorry,
yes.
My good brother Ocansey.
Yes. Anyway,
yeah,
thank you.
It's been a while.
Indeed, it has been. But this news of some 4 billion cedis being paid to you, I mean, not all in to you as members of this association, but then again, contractors who are owed by government. Some good news, is it not?
Yeah, first of all, let me commend yourself and then your team for such a wonderful job being displayed. The issue before us is a protracted issue that you and I know. We spoke about this over and over, time again, and then here we are today discussing the same thing, but it's as a result of change of government. So therefore, we must also thank His Excellency, the President, for coming to our aid with this announcement. In as much as it's a drop in the ocean, half a loaf, as they say, is better than none. So we thank His Excellency, the President, and his minister for for keeping faith to the manifesto promises, try as much as possible to make available 4 billion to pay contractors arrears owes them out of 21 billion plus.
Is this going to lead to your members and other contractors who have abandoned site return to site to continue the construction of roads across the country?
This must be handled strategically by the ministry, and if it's properly handled, then I can promise that indeed a number of contractors will be moving to site. But if it's not properly handled, then I'm afraid the payment will be made all right, but you may end up not seeing the number of contractors on site because there are dynamics to this. The contract documents that engages the two parties, that's the awarding agencies and then the contractor, there are conditionality clause set in there. And therefore, if a contractor also fulfills part of obligations and you, the awarding agency or the client, decided to abandon your side of the obligation, then which means the interpretation needs to come on board. So that is where I see a little bit of challenge. But however, as contractors, we are there to support government in the infrastructure space. So therefore, the best the ministry could do is to engage the individual contractors accordingly. If needs be for us to come on board too, our doors are open for us to assist government in doing that. Because a lot of the contractors are seriously down financially. Because some of them has gone for funding for finance instrument, money from the financial institutions, and then as using their properties as collateral, which most of them are losing it to the financial institutions. So therefore, if this happens, how do they recoup those? How do they regain those assets? These are some of the issues that definitely will come to the table for discussion. Because the 4 billion out of 21 billion, that tells you that, which means it's not all the IPCs that will be paid. The entry payment certificate is not all of them that will be paid outright, which means there's going to be a percentage payment. And therefore, if that happens, then proper negotiation must set in here. And if that goes well, then I can see that a number of contractors will move to site and continue their work.
So essentially what you're saying is that this 4 billion being paid out of the over 21 billion you are owed is not necessarily going to lead to you moving to site to resume work. That's all you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. That they need the skills, the negotiation skills of the ministry.
Okay.
To be able to invite the individual contractors one-on-one.
Okay.
And if the needs be that we comes on, we are ever ready to support. But as it is now, let's take it for instance. You are being owed 10 million Ghana cedis. Now, for this number of years that they're supposed to pay, that money has have outlived its usefulness in the books. So therefore, per the contractual terms, the contractor has the contract provision to make sure that he goes for interest on delay payment. So therefore, if that happens, the actual amount is no longer the same. The 10 billion that's supposed to have been paid, it will end up being 15 million, 12 million, and thereabout. As a result of what? Government's negligence, inability to pay on time. So these are some of the bottlenecks. And if this happens this way, automatically, if you come and pay the contractor 3 million or 4 million out of that amount, now the contractor also does not work in isolation. He works with other service providers like the financial institutions, the manufacturing sector, the service sector, all these people, as well as the labor force. All these people are also demanding. They are waiting for government to pay the contractor. Now, immediately that statement comes out that payment has been made to contractors, everybody is going to fall on the contractor, expecting payment. Meanwhile, in the books, the contractor is expecting 10 million plus, but the actual payment that has been made to the contractor possibly 3 million. So how is he going to match up with this? If by the time he gives letter to everybody, there's not going to be any money left for the contractor to go back to site and work. So that's what I'm saying. The ministry has a lot of work to do. The negotiation skills must be up to make sure that he's been able to explain to the latter, making sure that the needful is being done. If not so, you rather end up aggravating the problem of the contractors. And out of anger, they will not even mind you at all.
All right, I do appreciate your time on this, Mr. Cherry. Thank you.
And then also, hello.
Yes, quickly.
Yeah, also, you realize that the minister said they are trying to clear the system, making sure that the system is become robust and doesn't entertain double certificates and what have you. Just a little clarification. You see,
quickly, yes.
Yeah, double certificate comes in place if the contractor raised the actual certificate and it has not been honored according to the contractual terms, then the contractor has the mandate to go back and raise interest or delay payment. So the same contract, you end up seeing more than 2-3 certificates on the same project at the same time. So if the government will be proactive to make sure that they honor certificate on time, then the duplications will be out of the system.
Okay, thank you very much. It's one I will keep an eye on. Thank you for joining us. Also, that's Emmanuel Cherry. He is the president of the Chamber of Construction, Ghana.
The National Service Authority is positioning itself as a key driver of Ghana's agricultural transformation, committing to the National Feed Ghana agenda to reduce the country's reliance on imported staples. The authority has invested heavily in large-scale maize, rice, and tomato production. By the end of the 2025 crop season, it aims to harvest these crops across more than 8,000 acres of farmland. Ibrahim Abubakar joined Deputy Director of the National Service Authority, Donko Husseini, on one of the farm sites. There's more in the following report.
The National Service Authority has begun developing its newly acquired 20-acre farm in Central Farm Plain district of the Ashanti region. Currently, about 2,000 acres are under cultivation, serving as a demonstration farm to train and inspire young Ghanaians to pursue careers in agriculture. Deputy Director of the National Service Authority, Donko Husseini, explained that the project is not only about boosting local food production, but also about empowering the next generation of farmers.
We'll train you here on the farm with best practices, then we allocate some of the land for you to become an outgrower. So we give you the seedling, we plow the land for you, you grow it. When you are successful, we buy from you as well. So that's what we are trying to do. So it's not just a farm, we are trying to create a lot of employment avenues for most of our youth who are interested in agriculture. This year alone, if we are not exaggerating, we are targeting around 6,000 acres of maize just for this season alone. Rice, together across the country, we are doing about 2,400 acres of rice this year alone.
Additionally, the authority plans to establish a poultry feed mill to further support the agriculture value chain.
They are also producing a lot of poultry now. We've started with about 100,000 capacity broiler at our Papawo farm in Greater Accra. Very soon we are going to establish another 100,000 in Ashanti region. So we'll need a lot of feed for them, and once we have this field, it's the area we need to start producing our own feed for our poultry as well. So yes.
With these ambitious projects, the National Service Authority is said to play a pivotal role in Ghana's quest for self-sufficiency in food production.
This is live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're also on Kesmi 107.1 and Tamale and beyond, and on W 93.5 NY and beyond. You can also watch us on Facebook and on YouTube at 3FM 927. We're back with the latest in the world of business. Bismarck Osa is standing by.
Is the 3FM Baby Fair happening live on the 11th to the 13th of July at Marina Mall Airport City in Accra from 10 a.m. and it's absolutely free. From baby essentials and kids wear to toys, skincare, education material, and so much more. Shop amazing deals on a wide range of childcare products all under one roof. Don't miss our sessions with the Ghana Pediatric Society and all the amazing mums with the Mum Circle, a safe space for young mothers to share tips and connect. And there will be fun activities for the kids with our Kids Corner, games for the family, good food, and great vibes all around. To be a vendor, please call 0531 100 927 or 0532 200 927. It's the 3FM Baby Fair, your one-stop event for all your childcare needs. Proudly sponsored by You Fresh Drinks and Fidelity Bank.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Business Segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Ausa. Coming up tonight, financial economist advises government to settle arrears of contractors and suppliers with $370 million fifth tranche of IMF funds. Following the board's approval, we'll bring you details. Thanks for your company. Now to the very first story. Financial analysts is urging the government to channel the expected fifth tranche of $370 million disbursement from the International Monetary Fund, IMF, into settling arrears owed to contractors and suppliers. The call comes following the IMF Executive Board's approval this July of the fourth review under the $3 billion Extended Credit Facility Program for Ghana. The following 3 Business News Desk report has details. Dr. Eric Yadom argues that government's continuous delays in paying contractors and suppliers pose a significant risk on the sector and could lead to complete collapse of the construction industry. An amount of $370 million from the IMF is expected to hit the Bank of Ghana's account. But according to Dr. Eric Yadom, paying contractors will stimulate local economic activity and restore confidence in the government's fiscal commitments.
I think these funds should be used to pay contractors, private investors that are working with the government. It is unfair to, in the name of auditing, to put contractors on hold, their payment on hold for the past 6 months. I think that you end up collapsing these businesses. For the 6 months, some of these private investors have relied on borrowing. So when you pay them, they are going to use the money to pay the huge interest that is on it and also to settle the principal. There's no money left to invest. So if we keep withholding, in the name of auditing and delaying payment, we'll end up collapsing, especially Ghanaian-owned businesses that are partnering the government.
Dr. Yadom believes government's attitude with payment of contractors could impact the 24-hour economy program.
Now we have the 24-hour economy that we're expecting a huge chunk of the money to come from private sector, over 97%. And your attitude does not show commitment that if private investors come on board, you will be able to deliver your promises when it comes to payment. So we need to de-risk. We need to be able to reduce the political risk that private investors face.
Government owes 67.5 billion cedis to contractors and suppliers, a situation many sector players have lamented is crippling the industry. And that was a report on financial economist Dr. Eric Yadom advising government to settle arrears of contractors and suppliers with $370 million fifth tranche of IMF funds following the board's approval. Now, Ghana earned $4.8 billion from international investors and tourists who came into the country in 2024. The amount represents 27% jump from the $3.8 billion earned in 2023. The details were captured in the 2024 Ghana Tourism Report launched by the Ghana Tourism Authority, GTA. Ghana got the funds from 1.2 million persons who came into the country in 2024. In 2023, 1.1 million persons came into Ghana, representing a 25% increase over what the country recorded in 2022. And that brings us to the end of the business segment on Hot Edition with me, Bismarck Ausa. For more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. Thanks for your company.
Mark your calendars. It's the 3FM Baby Fair happening live on the 11th to the 13th of July at Marina Mall Airport City in Accra from 10 a.m. and it's absolutely free. From baby essentials and kids wear to toys, skincare, educational material, and so much more. Shop amazing deals on a wide range of childcare products all under one roof. Don't miss our sessions with the Ghana Pediatric Society and all the amazing mums with the Mum Circle, a safe space for young mothers to share tips and connect. And there will be fun activities for the kids with our Kids Corner, games for the family, good food, and great vibes all around. To be a vendor, please call 0531 10092.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. My name is Oriri Kwampofo. Let's start off from the Women's Africa Cup of Nations, which is currently ongoing in Morocco because Ghana were in action on Monday against South Africa. The Black Queens suffered a 2-0 defeat to the reigning champions. Now, despite the result, my colleague Billy Shen believes that the Black Queens showcased signs of promise.
Take motivation from that. I think the first 15 minutes gave an indication that they can go against, some of the biggest teams in the continent. They just waned after that. After the penalty, it seemed a bit jittery from them. But even with that, we still saw signs in the second half where they created opportunities, hit the woodwork on a couple of occasions. I think Evelyn Badu should have scored her chance because she was, clear goal side and she should have scored. But I think it gives an indication that this team, giving the confidence, giving that belief, can actually score goals, can actually win games, can actually battle against the top teams. And they showed that they could battle against South Africa. I personally thought before the start of the game that it was going to be a big wash. South Africa were going to defeat Ghana by a huge scoreline. But I got to realize that, they can actually go toe-to-toe with them. Yeah. They just need to keep that belief. They just need to keep going. They just need to keep creating opportunities, and they will score goals. And I think from the next game against Mali and even the next one, Ghana will score a lot more goals.
So that was my colleague Bill Ishan on the Black Queens, who would return to action on Friday against Mali at the Women's AFCON. We keep on building to that one. However, to some transfer stories where Ghana forward Ibrahim Osman has completed a loan switch from Brighton to League R side Auxerre. Osman joins the French side for a loan deal with an option to buy for 16 million euros, and it would depend on how the move goes to see whether the French club would go on to activate that purchasing option that they do have. However, let's still go back to another Ghanaian player still on the transfers, and Mohamed Kudus. He's been on the news recently with a proposed move to Tottenham Hotspur. Former GFA Communications Director and transfer expert Ibrahim Sani Dara, has backed the Ghanaian forward to succeed in any team in Europe.
There's one thing, sir. There's no team in the world that Mohamed Kudus will go to today
and be on the bench.
And be on.
I beg to differ.
Okay.
Let's
go.
I beg to differ. So right now, if Mohamed Kudus should go to Arsenal, I don't think he can displace Saka on any day.
No, I disagree. Kudus is much more talented than Saka. Absolutely, hands down. If you have followed Kudus's career trajectory, you know that his favorite position, when you go to Europe, as in many Ghanaian players have experienced, the European clubs try to toy with your natural position. The best you get out of Mohamed Kudus is for him to play just behind the strikers and get him to be a playmaker. You get the best out of him. He's got incredible talent.
So that was Ibrahim Sani Dara speaking. Finally, before we go, Chelsea will be in action in just under an hour in the first semi-final of the FIFA Club World Cup taking place tonight. Ahead of the game, head coach of the Blues, Enzo Maresca, says that the team will approach the game the same way that they have all along through the tournament. Let's hear from the Italian coach.
Nico is okay, and then in terms of game plan, I think every game we try to adapt a little bit ourselves in terms of find solution, and tomorrow we're gonna do exactly the same.
Well, that was Enzo Maresca bringing an end to Hot Edition on DFM 92.7. My name is Orieku Ampofo.
Well, that's it for Hot Edition here on 3FM 92.7. My name is Christabel, Success Treve, and I've been doing this with Alfred Ocansey. Thank you for joining us. Have a good day.